No, I actually did have something I wanted to talk about.
I
So,
love it.
for the longest time, we've had this whole setup with the audio and the samplers and all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
I've always been inspired by it. I tried to remake some of the functionality that you have, but I don't have any of the hardware. I don't know how you do any of the stuff you do, so I just had to guess. And I'm a
Okay.
programmer by trade, so I just programmed it in Reaper, which is like a free audio software.
Yeah,
It lets you do a
yeah.
lot of scripting stuff. I wanted like how many different sample buttons do you have access to? Like
How
I
many
can't. I've never seen like the hardware
how
from
many
your from a
keypads?
different angle.
Well, this is great.
Yeah.
I would love. I'm glad you're calling in with this request because I just had a buddy over at Sweetwater is a electronics
Oh,
and music store.
I bought
I'm
my
sure you're familiar with Sweetwater.
bought my
Uh,
interface from them.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've bought a ton of the synths back on the wall here, a ton of the cables and interfaces. Some of the gear is from Sweetwater, and specifically, I want to thank my personal representative. Guy's got a great name, Garrett. Garrett Kidd over at Sweetwater helped me out recently. He's my sales rep. So if you need any gear, call up Sweetwater, ask for Garrett Kidd. Let's get an internet soldier the commission they deserve. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
Because he is very familiar with Mega 64. I found out through having certain conversations. I just ordered a bunch of stuff that we're actually going to be using. We're upgrading the gear around the studio here for our upcoming board game Olympics this Saturday. So I had just ordered some stuff, and I was talking to him, and he said to me kind of the same thing. Like, we'd love. It's been years since I've done a gear tour like through the studio. We'd love an in-depth one, but even just what you asked, like how many buttons do I have that make noises? And I've got a lot of. I just love pushing fucking buttons.
Right.
So I'll start off right here. Some of the buttons, they actually control the camera switching on the show. So, when you were trying to recreate this, and I'm really curious, you're saying you put this into Resolume?
So I use Reaper and
Reaper.
OBS. So like I use Reaper for all the audio stuff and OBS for like controlling like video crap.
So how I control, I don't use OBS. We do here at the studio for the podcast for other things like friend mentioned. I use XSplit here in the PPS studio, and I use a small Stream Deck, the Elgato Stream Deck, to control, my gameplay camera that I have set up with me in picture, or switching from me to Brian or to the Lazy Boy Lounge. It can also launch video in the computer, like our video bumpers,
that's cool.
still images, or like this video bumper. But it can also play sounds, like when I pause.
You can have one kiss.
But I don't use the computer to play many sounds. That's about the only one. Or videos that play sounds. Mostly everything else, almost everything in the studio is analog. So,
Oh wow.
just like looking down here on the desk, I wonder what camera is the best to see this at. I could take Brian's and move it a little more. I've been moving Brian's camera all over. That's what happens when you don't show up. The cameras get fucked with. Okay. So over here, first off, phone charger. Gotta have your phone on a charger, right? All right, cool. So up here, you can't really see. Maybe if I turn the light on, but this is a interface for 2 wireless mic packs when I have guests. They go through this, and then that goes through the microphone input, and they're cheap. They're like cheap pile wireless lavs. But that's for when I have guests back in the Lazy Boy Lounge there. They go through this receiver. That all kind of pipes through this main. This is like my first DJ mixer. It's a 4-channel. But it's a German company. What is it? Behringer. That's it. So that actually comes into the mic input when I have guests.
Oh.
Right? So
So
then
they hear it? Oh wait, no, it's all everything's on speaker. There's no one has headphones.
Yeah, so here's the real interesting part. Like, all of the audio that you hear on the Poorly Play stream, all is in the room with us and comes through this Shure SMB7 microphone. So Brian's voice, the guests on the Lazy Boy Lounge's voice, any of the sounds, they're playing in monitors so that we can hear in the room, but also there's a tiny Bluetooth speaker that has an auxiliary cable, so I'm not using the Bluetooth capability. But there's a fucking speaker that has really good bass response. That's why I got this speaker. It sits 2 inches under my vocal mic. So not only everything I say goes into my really nice SMB7, but Brian, and that's why he sounds like he's calling in. A guest, any of the sounds, any of the MIDI instruments, everything comes through this tiny speaker into a microphone, which is not directly.
So the gain is really low on the mic, so that it's not picking up them twice.
Exactly, and it's given the PPS a very unique sound by doing it that way.
Yeah,
and that's why I've never changed. It was honestly how I stumbled into this setup, but it became the sound of the Poorly Played stream, so it hasn't really changed. So that's what you're seeing here right in front of me. But then past me here, back to the gear. So Sean found this beautiful, and I kind of like cleaned it up as best I can, an old shoebox realistic cassette tape player.
Oh.
So we're piping that audio into one of these shitty little boards. And you talked about buttons. This shitty board back here, it's got a lot of buttons. It's got a lot of mic inputs too, so I've got secondary mic here that I can pull up, and maybe I throw on a different female effect. And now, wait a minute. Check.
Oh, now I can talk to you with a pitch shifted voice. What do you think, deal? What do you think about that? This is what my
So is that coming through the speaker?
Yeah. This is also coming through this Mona mixer and soundboard. It's like a sound card.
That's so clever.
And I'm not using it for what it's normally intended for, but it's got all these other features. So I pipe the cassette player through there. I pipe the secondary mic through there.
And then, yeah, it's got its own buttons. It's got gunshots. It's got cheering. Oh, you got it. There you go. It's got the crow. I love the crow. That's about my favorite. Also, I've programmed into, there's 4 hotkeys. I've got, like, my intro.
Welcome, every one of you, to the Poorly
And it's got the,
stream.
you know.
And now, with a rampage, here's
The wrestling update intro. I think I've got
Check this out.
just a random, something I've never used before now. And then.
I don't
So
live
to program it, did you just record through the
Yeah.
mic and it just? Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
This little kind of, it's like baby's first podcaster, like, but I wanted another piece of gear. It had so many inputs and outputs, so I could add, like, I was running out, and this kind of let me daisy chain and get like 3 other inputs on it. Okay, what else? We got back here, Pioneer DJ. I'm sorry, DD3. We go 3.
Is it the one with the screen I'm looking at? It's kind of delayed for me.
Yeah, well, I've got an iPad mini, which is using the app DJ. That's DEJAY, I believe, right? It's DJ2, I think. Can't remember exactly which one.
Thanks.
But that's got a bunch of virtual buttons on it.
Hi, am I on the air?
Yep.
Fuck.
Thanks.
And
Thank you.
you know,
Yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 second, hon.
this is where I play a lot of my music when I go to breaks, play the DiCamillo calls. But the DJ, what is it? The DDJ We Go 3 by Pioneer is the MIDI controller that I kind of upgraded from the first one I got. That's where most of the songs you hear come in. Up here, too, I can't forget about background music just being played on the same app, DJ2 for iOS. And this one's being played on an old iPhone that I have. And
Oh, question. Do you still have the Pocket Sitcom app? Because I can't get that to work on my iPhone.
yeah, it doesn't anymore. But I have luckily recorded all the samples and made WAV files.
Genius.
Yeah. So that's how you were hearing things like my audience on the MPC is all the original Pocket Sitcom app drops. I just copied the ones over in WAV format and then put them on the MPC 500. So to the MPC 500, yeah, the iPhone, that's what plays the background music. Now to the MPC 500.
I am so fucking happy.
The most fulfilling buttons to press, right?
I am so fucking happy.
Is the workhorse.
This is the workhorse of the PPS. This has a file on it that I load up every week. It's got 4 pages of, what is that? 12 samples.
Got 48.
So, yeah, I've got everything kind of like in my mind, but if I ever need the cheat sheet, it's right here. All 4 pages
nice.
and
On
like
paper?
what's where. Like, where's Tommy Chong? He's right here.
Don't walk away from me when
Where's
I'm
that?
talking to you.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Meow.
Meow? Or which one?
The guy who sounds like he's breathing in, saying, yeah, breathing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is from the Jackie the Joke Man app that is also, like Pocket Sitcom, no longer working. But I recorded all the waves and then loaded them in.
Yeah. Oh.
I am so fucking happy.
That's Sean. That's not Jackie. There's Jackie.
I'm getting horny now.
Oh, that's what that is. Oh,
yeah.
I've been for years. I've looked for this and I don't know. What
These are all a comedian that used to be on the Howard Stern show named Jackie Martling, and when iPhone came out, he put an app out.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
And that's where you get the famous poorly played stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jackie the Joke Man, written down. Gotta know that one.
But yeah, I mean, this is the best eBay purchase ever, buddy. I mean, I shouts out to Sweetwater. But that MPC 500, I think I paid like $200 for it. And it's been on the road with me for all of the Mega 64 live shows. I've launched
I remember, yeah.
tons of sound effects off of that throughout the shows. This little CDJ right here, just a little cheapy Newmark, but it was the first one. Once I got records, then I was like, well, I got to get a CDJ. So I got one of these to play around with, and it kind of started living here in the studio. And that's just a Newmark NDX 400. It's an older one, you know. Again, I feel like new. This one was like $200. I talked about my first 4-channel mixer, that German. What is it? Fucking Behringer. I can't remember the names of any of this shit.
What's the one above the MPC? It looks like a white rectangle lighting up.
This guy here?
Yeah.
That is the Corg Chaos Pad Quad. So that's where everything on the MIDI wall, in the MPC, certain things aren't routed through it, but almost everything else is. And I can do my looping.
That's how you do that.
That's where I do my looping effects. That's where I do my favorite one, the tape echo. This is like the best effect ever. Where you can do some drums. And we can pitch shift. We can do delay, reverb, phasers, ducking compensators. This, I really like Korg gear because it's cheap and it's easy to use. But the Chaos Pad Quad is fucking like one of the first effect processors that I got where it didn't make any sounds, it just affected them. And that in conjunction, like on the first PPS, I feel like that was still there. Like even on the first PPS, I had this piece of equipment.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Again, going in the Korg world, what I was playing those drums off of, usually when I load some kind of drums if me and Brian start freestyling. But it's got everything from didgeridoo to fucking bass, you know, and different arpeggiators. And this is a Korg as well. It's a Chaosilator 2. It's a little yellow one. A couple of the Teenage Engineering the pocket operators. I've got a sampler down here, and then I've got the rhythm.
That's cool.
What was that? That was like the first one that came out. I like those. They're fun, but they don't do much. They're noisy. So I've got those two chained to the input of this other Corg. This is the Corg shelf up here. This is a tiny little battery-operated monotron duo. So this is how I start the show every episode and end the show every episode with like that fucking noise. I usually just hit something and then turn on the delay.
Oh, that iconic noise.
And then I turn them both up to where I have that noise. And then maybe on the quad pad here, I'll loop it. That's usually how I end the show. Is I just, out of the outro song, I go into this harsh noise. And I fuck with it that way. I tend not to leave this piece of equipment on because it creates a hum that sometimes comes in to the actual broadcast. And I believe
you mentioned it earlier.
It's all these little battery operated jobbers, they're all plugged in to USB power, but sometimes like if you plug a lot of shit into USB power, I have these USB power strips back here, they're fucking noisy, and the noise kind of interferes with the signal quality.
And they're all daisy chained too, right?
They're all daisy chained in. So yeah, it's like I've got some stuff that's isolated with like nicer wall warts, basically. Like I've got like stuff that uses USB power, but I really need it to sound good. I've got those like isolated on iPhone chargers, like on their own outlet, like not just a strip of USBs. That gear is cool. Finally, not being battery operated. I found this company, MyVolts, that sell these really cool little like yellow batteries. Do I have any laying around? Yeah. So they sell these fucking AA or AAA batteries that have like a little cable hanging out of them. So any equipment, even if it's got like a cover for the battery compartment, this little ribbon cable like slides out the side of your AA or your AAA, and then it all plugs in with like the cables that they provide to a USB power supply, so that you don't need two AAs to do.
That's cool.
You know, you can just do a little 5-volt USB job. But again, some of the stuff it gets a little loud. I should say it gets a little noisy, and that's like this island of noise making equipment. But then everything behind me on the MIDI wall, man, we got the 307, we got the 305. Just got the 305. The 307 is back there, but we got the 305. These are Roland synthesizers. They're actually like jam boxes. I forget what the marketing term is. Hold on.
They call them, I thought I left this mic on. They call them groove boxes. That's what it was. So I had the 307 forever. This is a bigger, it's meant to accompany a DJ when he's playing vinyl. He can set the BPM to the same thing, and then he's got like rhythm and 7 other channels of instruments. There's 808 samples on here, 707 samples, all the good stuff that you want. And this thing was like my first synthesizer, right? Taught myself how to use that just watching YouTube videos. This thing was like $200 on eBay. The little brother here is the Roland 303. So that's the 307, this is the 303. My buddy James, shouts out to DJ Syntho.
I'm so fucking happy.
He just moved to Japan. So he gave me that 307 or the 305 because he couldn't take it with him and he didn't want to just throw it in storage. Also, not a lot of people like these. This wall is, I think, completely reviewed by a YouTube channel called Terrible Gear or Bad Gear, or I can't remember. But there's a YouTuber that goes through like hated synth gear, and everything on this fucking wall he has made a video about. Especially this next entrant My bass is a Dark Star by a company called Red Sound, and they made 2 versions of this. I think they're both pretty much hated, and it makes this kind of like farting noise. Let me find it.
They're all plugged in?
Oh yeah, everything's routed and plugged in.
What the?
I have to change some MIDI channels on this. So yeah, everything on this wall is all controlled. So this down here is the Arturia Pro. I forget what they call this thing. It's the main MIDI controller. Are you hitting buttons over there too?
Yeah, I hit the button of you screaming "fuck yeah."
This Arturia MIDI controller, it has a drum section and 2 sequencers, so I could set it. You know, one sequencer is going to control the 307. The other sequencer is going to control the bass, the Dark Star, and then the drums will go to a drum brain back here. This is just a Pentec Easy Drummer version 2. Pick a drum kit, whatever. That's how I control that, all through this Arturia. The other stuff, like I got the bass plugged in. You said everything,
That's
right?
cool.
It's all on at all times. The
That's
bass,
insane.
that's coming through a G1 on, a Zoom effects pedal. The mic I'm talking in right now is going through a TC Helicon Create XT, which is a vocal modulator, vocal changer. I could change, you know, here's a nice reverb showcase, or we could go.
You got the nice reverb on there.
Ooh, here's a fully electronic setting with as much delay and reverb and every other effect you could put onto it. I'm just gonna take the delay out. At the top shelf, we're coming to the end here, folks. You got me started on quite a rant, Blow J.
No, it's perfect. This is exactly what I've always wanted for years, a full tour.
Yeah, you and my homie Garrett over at Sweetwater. So okay, top shelf Jones, right? We went through how the Arturia, it's the MIDI controller that runs everything on the 307, the 305, and the Dark Star here. The bass is just kind of independently plugged in. Usually the drums I'm running through this effect pedal, but when I have the bass plugged in, or the acoustic electric guitar back here, that can plug in too. Also, the Roland EG 101 in the back, the keyboard, not plugged in. I've tried to accumulate as many instruments as I can in here, so that if I have musicians come by that can play some of this stuff, because Lord knows I can't play half of it, I could record them, and that's really the goal, is like, oh shit, get my cousin in here, lay down some guitar tracks.
Hell yeah. Jam sesh.
So yeah, that's out of the room. Oh yeah, top shelf. Another Corg, the Volca kick. In the Korg Volca series, I only have one. I have the kick, and I do, bass drum with that. You can hear that right here. I'll isolate it, right? Oh, I turned my mic off. Oh, back to the Dark Star sounding like a fart. Actually, that's not a very deep setting. Here, let me...
Fart reverb.
Let me turn the oscillators on. But I feel like the Dark Star, people hate this piece of equipment because it doesn't do much. I mean, it's limited, right? I still like it.
Good for purpose.
It's got a cool joystick in the middle. That's probably the best feature. Okay, we were talking about bass, right? Yeah, here's the Volca kick. That's boom. Boom, 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 boom. And I feel like I've had the same step mode settings for like years. But we could change it. We could change the pitch. Where's that hi-hat coming in from? something else. There's something else in there with it. But anyway, that's the base of that Volca kick. Then we got a little mixer because all like 6 of these instruments are all outputting. So that goes into a Maker Heart mixer here, and then that comes back over to this Behringer mixer. Everything's like eventually, like I said, mixed down into the speaker.
Right.
Another Maker Heart just mixer, because there's so much shit on this wall. There's like daisy chained mixers, and these Maker Heart makes little 1/8-inch stereo, 3/5 millimeter regular jack mixers, and this one's a 5-channel and this one's a 3-channel. Then this is the newest piece of gear. This is the last synth I've bought, because I try to not, you get to the point where it's like buying more shit than I had time to learn how to use it, and it was like. It got a little overwhelming. So I slowed down after a couple of years. I finally figured out how to program most of this shit, so it wasn't like conflicting. And now I've allowed myself to start buying gear again. And Roland made some beautiful stuff. This is the Roland Rhythm Performer, the TR6S. So I used to have this a couple months ago down on the table because I was still learning how to use it. But now this is constantly in the mix here. This thing, Rhythm Performer, again, it's mostly drum stuff, but I love that it's got individual faders.
That's
so
nice.
I can pull the bass down and just do whatever these hi-hat sounds are. Or pull it all up. But yeah, it all sings together if I like bump all my settings back up. Turn the BPM down to like 80, right?
That's sick.
Goddamn mother...
So I guess that's fuck, did I get it all? I mean, we didn't go into like, I got XLR switchers, so at any point the computer seeing the microphone as the main input, I could hit a switch, and then the output of the Behringer is feeding. See, like I said, for broadcasting for the PPS, everything's coming through this little circular speaker 2 inches under the mic. But I hit this switch here, all of the sound is now directly injected into the computer as the input. So that's what I use when I record. Again, here you can't see off screen, I have a little Tascam interface that's a USB to XLR interface. I also run a couple pads and a dual transformer to isolate any noise. Now that everything's turned on, I'm hearing all kinds of noise in the fucking signal. But that's all right, because it's a noisy show and we're about to end it. After that tour, I can't fucking top it, man. I think that's, I really do think that's everything in here. Again, there's like
30 minutes.
There's like other shit too. There's like the Concert Mate 380.
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
I could hook him up at any. He used to be hooked up back here before, but I think I borrowed an input.
You got any pedals under the desk?
No pedal. The only guitar pedals I have is that G1 on that currently the bass is hooked up to, but usually the drums are. Fuck, what else? There's like 3 pairs of headphones hanging everywhere too that monitor different sources. It's really evolved over the years, but I think that about covers it. It's probably been 2 years since I did a kind of walkthrough, and I bet it's grown quite a bit since then. I know shit's mislabeled now because I've added so much gear. But one hell of a call there on this Valentine's Day, Blow J Simpson.
Thank you. Not my first, but it's been probably like 10 years since my last one.
Dude, good to hear it. Well, I'm glad you're still...
Is there anyone jacking off to this right now?